Five, four, three, two, one. Hey guys, we are live. We are live. I'm not doing good. Not doing good. Seriously. Seriously. I Thanks for watching. My name is Jason J. Daniel. This is the Jason J. Daniel Show. I am not good. My name is Jason J. Daniel. This is doing a sound check there. I'm not good. I was really starting to like this show, and I'm just processing what I watched. I'm serious. This is like not me acting ridiculous just to get you to watch, you know? I am seriously messed up over the episode I just watched. So let me just tell you who I am if you're watching. I'm Jason J. Daniel. I have a podcast. I'm an actor, and I like to talk about TV and movies and politics and human behavior and all such other cool stuff. And so I am committed to doing a recap on every episode of Last of Us. You can follow me. Put my info up. You can follow me at Jason J. Daniel on X, Snap, IG, Rumble, YouTube. So I'm committed to. I was excited about the season to watch this show, and so I've already done, the season premiere episode. So I did episode 1. I did not do last season because I wasn't podcasting then, but so I'm like, hey, I need a drink. Seriously, like I am not kidding. This episode will have a lot of spoilers. If you haven't already been spoiled, you should just watch it. Don't go online. Now, if you're a huge fan of the video game, then I guess what happened tonight is what happens in the video game. So I guess you're not surprised. I am. So I'm committed to doing a podcast recap for you guys. It's a way for me to process the show, and I like talking about Frosty. Like tonight's show, currently they're in blizzards. Currently they're in the snow. Currently they're copying Game of Thrones, and you got White Walkers. Cool. This is a half shot. I might give you more after this. I don't know. I'm just spilling it on my laptop, which is bad form. There you go. No ice. It's all good. So I'm recapping the show. And seriously, I'm upset. Like, I'm upset over this episode. Like, honestly, I'm having a hard time talking about it. I take it really seriously. I'm an actor, so I get involved in storylines, I get involved. And I'm just going to tell you, I'll just do my best. I know this is bad podcasting, but I'm just going to force myself to talk because like I totally cried. Like I literally cried. Like the last 15 minutes maybe. Well, the whole thing is really intense. So I hated this episode, but I'm just going to give you my rating, 4.5 stars, extremely well done. Extremely well done. There was a lot going on in this episode. I understand why they didn't make this the first episode of the season, which I honestly think they should have done like a 2-hour back to back or dropped them both, because it feels like the first episode was essentially part 1 of this one, and this was part 2. And I feel like I was really critical of the last episode. If you watched my podcast, I was super critical. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that I just didn't know where they were going with it. And it just seemed like they were rushing things and all that. You can watch it. Um, I didn't have a lot of good things to say about it, but I have high hopes for the show. This week, the high hopes, like they met my like my not I guess I was anticipating my anticipation. I was anticipating a really really good episode. I thought, okay, they need to help us out here, and I felt like they were about to hit us with something, and they did. And I got to tell you, I hated it. Like I hated it so much that I don't know if I'm gonna keep watching it. That sounds dramatic, but I'm gonna need some time. I'm an actor and I get involved with scripts emotionally. I get involved with characters. Life is really terrible. Like real life is really hard. Real life is a mess. Real life bad things happen. So movies and TV, that's our way of getting away from it all. That's why we pay these actors and these producers and the people that make these shows in television, TV, movies. That's why we pay them so much money to take us away from our problems, to help us go into a fantasy world, right? And I I appreciate that about movies and TV. Sorry about that. I have to do my sound checks. I really appreciate that. Like so, and I'm involved in the process of acting. So when I watch somebody do something, incredible, it makes me feel good. It's like, okay, cool. And I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I'm just setting up. I have to when I post to Facebook, and then when I post to X, I have to go in and make sure I'm my own producer, guys. So I got to make sure everything is cool, so people can watch it while we're doing it. So anyway, I get really involved in these scripts, and I'm really what's the word? I'm really like expecting a lot. Now this episode delivered a lot. It really did. Like it kicked ass. So there's two parts of me. There's the side of me that really needs to try to work through what I just saw, because if you haven't seen it, stop watching this right now and go watch it, because I'm going to spoil it if you're not a fan of the video game. But they fucking killed Joel in the worst, I'm just going to say it, the worst way you could do him. They did him, and I'm not good with that, for a lot of reasons. Like, and let me just tell you about, I do have my rule. Here's my rule. Just so you guys know, if it's the first time you're watching, I have a rule on games and books that are adapted for screen. That doesn't matter to me. So when people say, well, this is, the book did this, the book did that, the game did this, I don't care. Like, to me, it's like, that's just counterproductive, because a movie or a television show is a different work of art. So if you take source material, the people that write it should have the freedom to change the story from the video game or the book. I guess they're going to just have to blow me away this season. But I really think this is a terrible mistake. Like, tragic mistake. As far as the show is concerned, like, and Pedro Pascal clearly likes to get killed off. And yes, it's a fucking TV show. I get it. I shouldn't be that worked up over it, but I get this. I was really getting invested in his character, and they did a Negan on him. Well, first of all, it is a little annoying to see them ripping off Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. Like, they're literally ripping them off as like hard as you could rip them off. Like they steal two actors from Game of Thrones, and now they're stealing plot lines, and they're just stealing all this stuff. So they essentially had like a wall. We'll get to it, but the Jackson Hole thing, where they live, they have a wall there, and it was just like the White Walk, and they had these cordyceps dudes just running like World War Z, and So they're ripping off World War Z, they're ripping off Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. And it's fine, it worked, but they're just ripping everybody off. But anyway, my point is, on my rule on these things is the writers should have the ability to change the story from the source material because it's a different work of art. And I just don't understand. I get it. I get it. But I get it. It's like the book, or I'm sorry, the game. But I don't understand what benefit it does to a television show to kill off such a popular character, kill off essentially the main character. Like, to me, Joel's the heartbeat of the show. It's not Ellie. Now I know, I know you fans that know it left and right, but I'm talking about the show. Okay. So Pedro Pascal has been the heartbeat of the show. He's a fantastic actor. He's just a star. And everybody's better in their scenes with him. Now they kill him. And I get it. It's going to be a vehicle to move the story forward, and Ellie's going to get revenge. See, and this is where that's just played out for me. Like, killing somebody to get revenge, like somebody close to a character, so the character goes on like this revenge spree. That's like old as time. And I guess that's why these things work, because you see things that work well and then they're replicated over and over, right? And also there's a religious concept that people don't understand that's weaved into every pretty much action movie story, and we'll get to that. But this is kind of the religious, like the way they did this was very like, it was kind of a Jesus thing. You'll have to hang in here with me, but the way they kill Joel, again, spoilers, sorry, you should know this if you're watching this, it's a recap. The way they did him is, there were some similarities to like the crucifixion in a lot of ways, and the fact that Joel essentially he sacrificed himself for Dina, which that was kind of lost in the moment because there was a lot going on. And then the way they injured him and just things that they did, and they mocked him and beat him, right? Like, it was very Christ-like. So I'm not sure if they did that on purpose for Easter. And I think dropping this episode on Easter, honestly, is like, it's super douchey in the sense that, like, and I'm being critical of it. I'm critiquing it. Easter's a fun day. Everybody's doing eggs, and you got kids, and you had a lot going on with TV, a lot of sports. I didn't realize everything was just jammed in, right? Because people are home, watch TV. And so Last of Us dropped. I don't know if it dropped a little earlier, but I showed up earlier. I didn't have time to watch it because I was finishing White Lotus. Today was my day. I don't get a lot of days alone, so this is my day off to catch up on my TV and stuff and chores and all that, like you. And sorry, I'm getting my things mixed up here. This was a happy day. In fact, I was in a great freaking mood. I really was. And I watched this, the battle was crazy and so many cool things happened in it. It was really cool. And then they get to this point. I really didn't like, Joel gets tricked. Again, Joel saves his murderer, not realizing he basically, by saving his murderer, he sealed his fate. And so I didn't understand. And then by him going without Ellie, like, there were things that Joel did that they made a point of telling you he was doing that was very like self-sacrificing and sealed his fate. So now I am very critical of the writing. I will just say this now that I'm talking it through. Bad writing is still a thing with this. It was still, and I even misspelled writing. Sorry, guys. Bad writing was still a thing, and I can't even write. I was so emotional when I was typing this out. Bad writing is still a thing with this this group here, but they buttoned it up really fast. And then everything seemed to really go really well as far as the writing is concerned. And a lot of it had to do with um, once they had the meeting where everybody got together, and that happens in a lot of shows. Okay, guys, we're just going to give you the emergency plan just in case we get overrun by 1,000 White Walker cortisone guys, cordyceps dudes, just in case they burst through our impossible wall and they have a giant guy and all these things, which is Game of Thrones. Uh, just in case, guys, here's the plan. So they gave you a lot of foreshadowing. But once they got through that cheesy kind of meeting, by the way, the gentleman that plays Joel's brother, is it what is it? Tommy? I'm looking right here. The guy that plays Tommy, he's so good. Sorry guys, Tommy Gabriel Luna. He is fantastic, and I really thought he just fucking killed it. Like he was so good from beginning to end of this episode. He really killed it. Uh, so everybody just, and maybe that's just the synergy of a show, because when most of these shows are filmed mostly like they film the episode and they put it all together. Now they might film some other things for future episodes, but it's kind of rare that they go that far out because sometimes the scripts change as things happen, and they build these things as they go. So I feel like there was a lot of the supporting actors, serious synergy. Now clearly, Gabriel Luna will now be more of a probably a featured actor because they took Pedro out, and clearly he died. After the episode was over, Pedro they did the. I watched the little recap, which I was trying to get my head together, so I just let it play. And where the creators of the story talk about what you just watched, that little breakdown, which is super helpful. Um, they said, yeah, Joel's dead. Like they made a thing of it, and then they show you dragging his body at the end, so he's clearly dead as hell. But anyway, so there's the writing. So with Joel, now that I'm talking about it, I could see where like they were setting him up to be the ultimate sacrifice, and he went out like a gangster though, which I really, really I thought it was dope. I really they did him wrong, but they also made his death like super strong. Um, I'm really having a hard time with it. I'm I'm super disgusted. I get it because the rest of the story without Joel, you can't change that. It's a major piece. But why not? Why not change it? You know? So let's just get into the recap. Um, I wasn't able to take, I usually take pretty good notes, but I wasn't able to take a ton of notes because it just got crazy. And then when I realized that Joel was in serious trouble, then I just lost it. Like, I have this habit. I have a pretty large television. Most of you probably do. I have this habit of like standing up. Like when it's going crazy, I can't sit down. So they're blowing stuff up. The battle was like, it was a really epic. It was like the battle they gave you in this episode was like, well, it was like a premiere. It was like the premiere to me. I really felt like this was the premiere that we wanted. And so that's why, 4.5 stars, I'm back on. I'll tell you why I didn't give it a 5 star. And no, it's not because they killed Joel, because when I give you a star rating, it's like, okay, I'm rating the show in totality. Um, not like, not what they did per se, right? Not like if the plot point was super stupid, yeah, but like, that's a major plot point and they executed it so good. It was well done. But you didn't realize the stakes were that high until they put a gun to Dina's head and you're like, wait, this is like, now we're doing this? Because you knew that they were gonna do this. Like as soon as, well, I'm jumping ahead, but you knew they were going to do like a Joel Abby. Abby's now the Negan. She pulls a Negan, which again, it was just that. Okay, the reason why I didn't give it a total 5 is because I really had a hard time with this Abby character just being that vicious, that fast, and being like Negan and being that powerful. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. And then there was a moment of dialogue right there between her and Joel that she just didn't nail. And she just didn't. She was. It was almost like, and I'm look. She's getting paid a lot of money, and that's a high level gig, and she did great work in general. But there was a moment that was really intense where she started to torture him essentially, and then she does the monologue and she gets in his face and tries to explain to him why I'm torturing you. And there was a moment where she just wasn't it just wasn't scary. It was almost like literally like she was just trying to remember the words. And being an actor, you kind of know these things. But or it just I don't know, it just didn't work for me. And it took me out. I'm like, really? So it took me out. And so I just didn't feel like she's like, I just don't know if it's the best casting to have her be like, but I get it. They're trying to give, it's almost like a Hunger Games feel where they're trying to like now the teens, the young adults are going to start battling, which maybe that's the point. So now you have the evil doer is like 23 or something, maybe 25 because there was a time jump, and she's getting revenge for her daddy. So now these girls are just tough hombres and stuff. Okay, so and then you've got Dina and they're getting a lot of young people in the mix here, so it's kind of got this Hunger Games feel to it, which is not bad. Um, I'm just really having a hard time with it. Um, I just didn't. I hated it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming. I hated it. One last thing I'll say, and I'm not trying to critique the actress. I mean, I thought she did a fine job. I just don't like this character in general as being like the vicious bad guy. I really think like I don't know, but now she's going to be set up to be like the bad guy, I guess, the rest of the season, and that's not exciting for me. I'm going to stay. Okay, they did enough to make me never want to watch the show again, but I'm going to stay with it because I have made a commitment to do this and I've already put time into it. So why not? Right. And let's see where it goes. See where it goes. I'm just super unhappy with it. I'm still processing it as I'm talking. So if I'm not making sense, I'm sorry. Um, so let's get into the recap. The one thing I would say is it was really predictable in some cases, but the production was extremely exciting. So that's kind of one way. That's one way I can sum it up. Is now, and in some moments I'm like, this kind of like low IQ theater here. Like certain things people are doing, you're like, well, you wouldn't really. Who would do that, right? Um, but then they kind of answered my question later on because like one of the things I thought was, why don't you just create like a fire, like what do you call it, like a fire? I just thought, why don't you have like a ring of fire around this place, like 24/7? But then I realized, well, they actually used fire on these cats, which made sense, which was pretty spectacular. Well, these cats mean the cordyceps attack. And they demonstrated like, okay, that was only going to work so much if you got too many of them like piling on, right? So it made sense to me. And then like you couldn't have that kind of smoke, and then it could maybe that would draw these cats, right? So so let's get into it. So there's obviously they recapped some important moments from the first episode, and what was interesting is the stuff I criticized, they cleaned up real fast. They explained that now they're one of the things they criticized was they're partying right after they found out these things were evolving. This episode takes place the next day. Everybody's hungover, um, and so everybody's like cracking to it. They're concerned now. So then apparently between the dinner party that was weird, or like the dance, the prom, whatever, between that and then Ellie waking up because she slept in, and Joel again didn't want to wake her up. So Joel starts doing things that aren't Joel like. He's being very nice to Ellie. And the last time she talked to him before the end of this episode, she didn't really talk. Well, she yelled at him and said, "You're miserable. You're ruining my life," which is what girls do, teenage girls do, and boys do, 19-year-olds, I guess. And then, but she's trying to catch up with her childhood. So they're giving you that sense in this episode, like, okay, yeah, she's douchey in the first episode, and she's like a handful, but it's because she's now like, she's now becoming a teenager in this safe environment, and not realizing how high the stakes are. And that was the point. And that's why these episodes 1 and 2 would have been really great together. Now, by the way, if you're watching and you want to put a comment and it pops up. I can see it, and I'll address your comments if you're watching. And if you watch this after and you do a comment later on, I'll answer your comments. So please let me know in my next, recap. So definitely I'm on X, YouTube. I'm everywhere, but this streams on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. So I could see what they were doing is like, she's acting out because she's trying to like catch up on her lost childhood or her lost teen years. And the first episode, I was like, no one's really taking this seriously. They're acting like the stakes aren't high. And I can understand that, when they were writing these episodes, they're putting them together and like, okay, cool, we were accomplishing this, that's what they wanted me to think, that the characters are just not taking it seriously. And I did not anticipate, and at the end of the last episode, they kind of sent you that message, okay, the stakes are high and these guys are missing the boat. But they really pay a serious price, more than I thought they would pay. Seriously. Like the devastation to this town that they just went through, clearly, and then losing Joel, who is like, essentially Joel and Ellie are rock stars. You learn this, that everyone's worried about their drama. Everyone's concerned about them. They're really, I guess, what's the word? They're just well known. Everybody is like, paying attention to their drama. Again, follow me on Snap, IG, Rumble, YouTube. Subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'll be doing this show the entire season, I guess. So they're kind of like rock stars, right? This is what you learn. And now that Joel's gone, that's going to be a major turning point. Like it's devastated. So there's a lot of devastation. Obviously, the leaders will be devastated. His brother is the leader of Jackson Hole, where they're at. Everyone's devastated. And when you watch the end of the recap by the writers and the producers, they're like, yeah, this is like changing everything. Like this show will never be the same. No kidding. So they're going to really have to take it to another level for me to like stay into it, because the Joel Ellie thing was interesting because I thought, okay, well, they're going to like have a moment where they pull together. I really saw a moment like, okay, now we're surrounded. They pull together and, or Ellie, I really thought Ellie was going to have to make a choice. Like Joel, like I thought that these Firefly Juniors were going to catch up, obviously, with them, and they were going to put Ellie in a situation where she was going to have to make a choice, right? Like Joel or someone else. I really thought it was going to be a little more like dramatic like that, which is kind of what Walking Dead did, where Rick was like, you have to make a choice with his son or something, giving up or whatever. But they didn't do that. They just straight up executed him right in front of her. And I'm jumping ahead, but it just sometimes like, I'm not really sure what the point of that is. Like some things are done for shock value and like purpose of the story. But then I just go, well, this is miserable. Who cares? Like honestly, like I'm not good with this because, okay, let's say Ellie has some revenge and like, I just don't see where they take this to a positive resolution in the next, like 8 episodes or something, 7 episodes. I just don't see that happening because like this death is traumatic for me as a viewer. And obviously the characters is going to be so dramatic. So like, I don't know. I just don't see how they overcome this. Like, so I guess the challenge for me as a viewer with the writers and the showrunners is, okay, well, you now have painted yourself into a pretty significant corner. Like, so for someone like me who is sophisticated with this stuff, my thought is like, well, how do you get this to like a really happy place? There are shows like Walking Dead that they were able to overcome that to a point, but then when they were running out of like B characters to execute, that kind of hurt people's feelings. But and now in the beginning, I will say this: in season 2 of Walking Dead, if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, but they do kill Shane, which was a significant kill. It was like, that was significant. But they had a lot of really good actors, and it really moved the story forward because the Shane character was like a ticking time bomb from the beginning. And so it was kind of like his time, you kind of knew, okay, this is going to come to a head. So you weren't totally shocked. And Shane was like a guy you hated, but you liked, right? In this case, they took a really important character and just completely murdered him in the worst possible way. It could have been worse, I guess. It made me cry. I was just devastated by it. Like, it really made me cry. When I knew that like they're killing him, I was like, no, 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 no. And then they even did this thing where they even did a moment where you thought Ellie was going to come in and save him. And then these guys were so on top of it that they stopped her. No, that made no sense. So they did some things like if you were really in that situation and you were like, so like somebody's going to be murdered in front of you, your entire intention's on that. You're not like, oh, somebody comes in the door, sneaks in really quiet and stopped them. No, that doesn't work. But anyway, so there were some things that didn't make sense to me, but they had to do them to get to this point. So anyway, I didn't even get started. Well, let's just jump in really quick. We're at 30 minutes, so I usually take this about an hour. So if you're watching this later on, you can fast forward. So so we'll get okay. So let's just get to let's just get to it. So it's a predictable but exciting episode. And so okay, so it starts out. I got that out of my system. Okay, so it starts out with so we're coming off of, sorry, I did start the recap and got distracted. So we're coming off of that prom thing. The Junior Fireflies, I thought they were going to crash it. They didn't. They set you up to think that, but they didn't. They're holed up in some place somewhere. It's like some resort with one building. And so they're having some argument. Well, it actually starts out with this Abby character. So Abby, they introduced her last episode. Abby is this leader of this group of Junior Fireflies. I guess it's the leftover young people that weren't there when Joel executed 18 or 19 people or whatever it was when he saved Ellie from having her brain scrambled and then becoming a sacrifice to try to find a cure. So Joel executes all of them, and you get this feeling this is going to come back to haunt him, and clearly it came back to haunt him. So she has a dream sequence, which was just corny. It was corny. And I don't know if the actress is just like struggling with this material, but it almost seemed like this is something you do for like low IQ theater, or like you're doing it for teenagers. Like she's in a dream sequence talking to herself, reliving when she found her dead father. And then they really drive home Joel killed her father, which it wasn't that clear to me in the last episode, but they drive it home. And so this Abby character in the first episode says, I'm going to kill him slowly. Well, she clearly made that promise come true, but it just didn't make sense. She just wasn't that bloodthirsty of a character, like concept to me. And then when you get her to when she actually kills Joel, it just did not make sense that this she just didn't seem like she had it in her. So I just don't. The casting is a little concerning for me, but I think it's because they just want to pit, a girl that's kind of like, I guess, a good fit against Ellie in the future. Now I know they're following the video games, but again, to me that doesn't matter. So she has a dream sequence, predictable stuff. Then she wakes up, and this does get me because I'm an actor. But like everybody wakes up, they're all in sleeping bags, and it's a blizzard, it's cold. They all wake up with full makeup and good hair. One of the girls has perfect bangs. It's just not going to happen. They have great eyebrows. The one beautiful thing about The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones was different because they had to. There wasn't makeup, right? Or obviously they're all wearing makeup when you're doing shows, but like it was just clear they had makeup on when they woke up, and I'm like, okay, they kind of blew that one. Everyone had good hair, And so, and there was a scene, Abby wakes up and she doesn't have makeup, and they cut to a scene, she's got great makeup. Like, so a lot of that stuff, I know they're just trying to get it done, but a lot of that stuff takes me out of it. So they're having this conversation, and Abby's just like plotting to find Joel. She goes out by herself. And so she gets preposterously lucky. One, so basically, I guess, I don't know if this is kind of a purposeful in the writing. Where I'm going with this is this Abby person, the whole entire battle of Jackson Hole, everything that bad that happens to let's just say, our heroes, is because of this Abby person, and through serendipity, she does it on accident. So she starts the ball rolling on accident, right? So I'm not sure if like she's just like a harbinger of death, if her character is just like evil personified, in the sense that like everything is evil, right? And maybe that's why they have her she's a petite young lady and she looks non-threatening. So maybe that's kind of the point, is like characters that are that devilish sometimes don't look like it. But there's kind of a thing to be said making somebody like fit like the evil, right? In the casting. So, but everything that happens bad to the heroes happened because of her in this episode. Everything, some things on accident, some things on purpose. So she wakes up. She's going to go out on her own. She walks out. It's freezing. They establish everything's cold. It's very cold. And I guess they filmed in a real blizzard. They're in Wyoming or something. It's, Jackson Hole. It's really cold. She goes out on her own to like scout or something. And then her boyfriend, I guess this is who this guy is, who clearly has no control over anything, even though he acts like it, and he lets her do whatever. And also the other thing that doesn't work for me with the Firefly Juniors, they're all dressed clean like they're from the Gap. Honestly, none of their clothes look messed up. It doesn't make sense for survivalists. So again, I don't know if it's just like things you do to match the video game. Maybe that's like video game stuff, right? Things don't change, right? Clothes always look good. Maybe those are little nuances they're trying to put in to give the video game people some things. Like later on in the show, there's two moments that were clearly video game style, like point of view, right? There was a moment. There's a couple of moments you can go, okay, this is like the video game, like could be a scene out of the video game, right? Like somebody running and like dodging things, right, or shooting, right? So Abby, so this Abby character, she's so like, I just don't see her as like a legit dominating character. Like, if this was a real team, she would not be leading it. There's no way. Like, they're all a bunch of like. Then they're just like vicious. When Joel gets killed, like vicious, and one of the guys, looks at his dead body and curses at him, and so they portray these as vicious people. But she's the leader, which doesn't make any sense. So a lot of that just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, we'll just move past it. She's bossing him around, and then she leaves, and then like. The guy, he's making coffee, like they're just doing things that just like that just you wouldn't do if like this is okay, we're looking for Joel, this is the day, and then her plan was to storm the gates, right, or somehow break in and kill him. And her boyfriend, I'm not even clear on who his name is or the actor, but so she leaves, and then the rest of the group comes to him and says, we're going to really do this. There's like 3 or 4 of them, and he's like, well, don't worry, because the only people that's going to die is us if we do it. It's a bad plan. We're not doing it. I'm going to talk her out of it. He's making coffee. And they're like, okay. So then he's acting like the leader too, like he's plotting against her, which is weird. So, and again, I might be missing some key points because it was such a great episode and I stopped taking notes and got kind of caught up. So that happens. Now, Joel goes out with Dina. They established that. So Joel goes out with Dina. And he didn't want to wake Ellie up, but his I guess his patrol was supposed to be with Ellie. He doesn't go with her. She goes out with this other cat, and I have to let me look at the cat. I have the cast list here. Young Mazzio, Jesse, who plays Jesse. So Jesse, I guess, is the ex-boyfriend of Dina. They just broke up, and so there's that thing. And they have a little bit of banter about the love triangle stuff, but it's not that significant this time around. So it was kind of funny. So it was like, okay, it was engaging. So he's he's saying, Joel left because you're just being a douchebag and he didn't want to wake you up. She's like, okay, well, I'm gonna find Joel. So then once she wakes up from whatever was going on, you're just getting this sense that, and then they have this little dialogue. They talk about the beef, her and young Mazzino. They talk about the beef, Jesse, the character. They talk about the beef, and they're fine, and she's good, and she's like, Joel and I will always be fine. She turns around, and that's what a teenage daughter would do with dad. They would say, "We're fine." So you're getting the sense that she's kind of wanting to reconcile with him. So she goes to look for him, but he's like, no, we're going to go out together. They go out together. So you've got him and her, and then Dina and Joel. So meantime, like I was saying earlier, Joel's brother and his wife, the leaders, get everybody together in the bar, and they're just having, hey, this is the plan, just in case the cordyceps in about 30 minutes blast into our place, a fortress they shouldn't be blasting into. Here's the plan. We're going to have all these people. We're going to lure, if they break in, we lure them into Main Street. We have all these people on the top. We have create a kill zone, which is actually really smart. And then all the vulnerable people go to the basement, which is not smart. Doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. So they're like, hey, cool, this will be fine. Then they do then Ellie, actually, before they leave, they do have to do their social lesson of the episode. There's always a lesson they jam in your face about being nice to people that are different than you, or not, your diversity moment. Which I don't have a problem with. But Ellie and the guy that calls him Dykes, you Dykes, apparently he's a cook or something. And so they set this thing up where before Ellie goes out on her patrol, she has to go see this guy. They kind of set her up and surprise her, and he's cooking. It's interesting. True Blood fans, it's very True Bloodish the way they do that. And then they have Regina Wesley, I think it's Regina, right? Was a major True Blood character, so it's kind of interesting to have she's standing there. It's kind of a True Blood thing. And so homage to True Blood, OG vampire show. And so Ellie is apologized to. So this, you Dyke, that guy, he's forced to say, I'm sorry, I had too much to drink. And then Ellie's just being mean to him the whole time, basically saying, well, fuck you. And everybody's like, really? So she does her little douchebaggy thing. It was getting, the Ellie being a douche was starting to get on my nerves a little bit, but now I can see what they were doing. It's now over. She's not going to be like that anymore because of what they did to Joel. Clearly, she's now going to be a different character. So there's that. So they make sandwiches. They pack them up for her and Jesse, hand them to her, and she's whatever. She doesn't want them. Jesse takes them. They'll go out on patrol. So a storm is brewing. Okay, so then they show you they've got a wall like King of the North, like Game of Thrones. They have a wall, and that's significant. So it's kind of like a medieval style. They have like an armory apparently, and they all really good with weapons. Why they haven't found heavier weapons will always be a surprise. It just surprises me. Like they have flamethrowers, they're very organized, but like you didn't find like an RPG or like some heavy like Gatling guns or some kind of thing. To me, it's like that makes no sense. They can find all those that like look like they had military shit, but they don't have like any heavy weaponry that could completely like mow these fuckers down. But I guess it's like, okay, we don't want to make it easy. So, or landmines. I mean, if you put landmines out there, they're blowing those things up all day long. Like, it just, they didn't set up explosives. Now I understand. I get it. I get it. We're just speculating that stuff would work. And again, it's like a fantasy world, but whatever. Now the conversation that these fuckers are evolving does become a thing. And then apparently before they leave, Jesse tells Ellie, oh yeah, they're actually the thing they didn't take seriously the night before. Now that everybody woke up, they're taking it seriously because a couple of our scouts went out. Now, when they did this between the dance and the morning while Ellie was sleeping, I don't know. But they say, apparently these guys are hiding out in the snow in like, but using dead cordyceps. I thought they were all dead. They're calling them dead. Jesse explains that they've figured out this master plan. The cordyceps are now smart enough to hide underneath cordyceps, like almost like a spider waiting for a bug, and they're under the ground. And this, my hat's a dead cordyceps. They pop out underneath the deck and grab you, right? So apparently they said they found 30 of them. They cleaned them out. Doesn't make sense to what happens later on, because you find out that, like, okay, there's a lot of them. So it wouldn't make sense to me that like only 30 popped up and the rest just chilled, but whatever. So they give you that tale. And so it sends everyone in an uproar. They get prepared. They have the heavy weaponry. Okay, cool. So Jackson Hole is getting like, they're getting their shit together. So you cut to a scene. So I think everybody's kind of established. So at this point, you got the Jackson people doing their thing, getting prepared. You've got, and they actually, are starting to actually prepare. Like, why would you do that if so it's a little convenient that they're actually taking it seriously. They're on high alert. Joel and Dina go out and they're doing their thing. You don't see them. And then Jesse and Ellie are doing their thing. And so you got 4 horses, 2 people. Normally they'd be crossed, like they've just split up. So normally Jesse would be with Dina and Joel and Ellie, but not so much. Okay. So they're out there, and then all of a sudden the storm gets heavy. They show you they got a wall for defense. Everybody's getting ready on the wall. Why they only have one wall, I'm not sure. But apparently this wall is built of like really huge, like redwoods or some shit, like big, like they're wood. Okay. I can work with that. So cut to a scene of Abby, who is, I got to tell you, she's like the worst bad guy ever. And I mentioned it earlier, but I'm just not sold on her being just this, the things that she did in this episode. I don't really see that fitting this character. But she's apparently this bad guy now. So she's doing some scouting thing all by herself, like really high, which is weird. Whatever. She slips, which is like, and rolls down, which is dumb. She rolls down in the snow and then she wakes herself up. She's like, she's out for a second. And apparently she's like, she through serendipity slides into some cordyceps graveyard. All these dead cordyceps frozen. Then through her moving around, the ground shakes, and it's pretty dope. So from this point on, I have to say, it gets really, really, really good. And this is, I guess you can call it the Battle of Jackson Hole. So that's the moment this thing goes off the rails. She rolls down there. She wakes up this nest of these cats, and they all start busting up. The ground kind of falls in a little bit, and she starts running. OMG, because these things start popping up like spiders going after a fly. They're just like, and then it's like, right? World War Z. You can imagine, and that's pretty dope. It looks great. Now, I don't understand something here, and you'll have to help me. How do frozen zombies run like hell? What? It made no sense to me, especially like if they're organic, they're zombies. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me that like I could get them like crawling out and like kind of warming up, I guess. But for them to like, and then they just go fucking ham like that doesn't serve the story, but it is what it is. So the frozen zombies run like hell. And then like this is horde of them. So she's running and apparently beating them, but they're all fast. And now let's just take away from the fact that no one's going to run fast in the snow like that. It's not happening. Okay. So that snow is so deep. She's not running fast. They're not running fast. Okay. So this should have been like, it should have been slower. Okay. But anyway, it's at high speed. So she happens to outrun again. The riding's riding is shitty at some moments. They just expect it's like video game-ish, right? So she outruns. She somehow gets into this area where it's kind of like I thought she like got to Jackson Hole, so that was very confusing. But instead, it was like some place that was like abandoned warehouse or something. So they all come at her like Walking Dead. She like jumps a fence or something, and they all start crashing into the fence, which is really super epic and really cool and scary. Have you always wondered, by the way, why the zombies all wear the same clothes? They're all dressed in like brown, blue slacks, sneakers that are nondescript, always wearing like leather jackets. The women have blouses that are like, so no one's ever wearing like a Nike logo, right? They're not wearing normal clothes like normal people would wear. I mean, everything I'm wearing is logoed out. When do you ever go to a store and buy clothes that aren't logoed out? So apparently the people dressed like me, you're not making it. But if you're dressed nondescript, you're going to be a zombie. Okay. So that's always stands out to me is nobody's wearing bright colors, whatever. So there's like, so imagine she's again, if you haven't seen it, you probably saw it if you're watching this. She's against some wall, and then she's in between a fence, like a chain link fence, which why you would put one there or whatever. But they all like, we're talking like 100 of them smash the fence starts breaking. She's pinned against the fence and she eventually slides down to the ground and she's kind of army crawling and there's this little triangle of space and it's kind of like this, right? Like that. And she's going through it and like that's the fence. And no, wait, this is it's just there. The fence is crushing and then she's trying to like, right? And she finally gets out and then she's about to get taken. Like there's a moment where you're like, she's like, she's about to get eaten. She's backing up, that one of those moments. And you're like, clearly someone's going to save her. And sure enough, the cordyceps that's about to get her comes out of nowhere. I'm sorry, someone comes out of nowhere, shoots cordyceps in the head. Cordyceps dies. You look up, there's a hand. Follow me if you want to live, right? Something along those lines. This hand, a masculine hand, grabs her, lifts her up. It's Joel. Okay, there's your first moment of irony. So Joel saves her. So in an act of just being heroic, a heroic act, Joel, the character Joel, seals his own fate by not allowing this random to be killed. Now, there's something significant about this moment. I rewatched a little bit of episode 1, and there's a line of dialogue that indicates this coming. His sister-in-law, they're having a conversation, and in the first episode, she says to him, "Hey," because Joel's kind of like a clockmaker now, where he's the construction guy, and he's not the fighter anymore. He's like, I'm after he killed all those people to save Ellie, he's like, I'm not fighting, I'm a lover, not a fighter. And she starts talking to him, he's like, we can't bring in all these strangers anymore. He says to her, one momento. It's dangerous. We don't have the supplies. The typical thing that they say in a zombie flick when they're all safe and, you got to have a reason to bring the wrong people in, right? And Joel used to be like, hey, I'll just randomly, he was like a vicious killer in the beginning. Like the one thing that they do establish is Joel, and then his brother was even like in the first season was like, hey, we've killed a lot of people to get to this point. And he said, and some people didn't deserve it, but we did it because we had to. And I think the sense was like, it was such a dangerous time that if anybody came upon you, because again, we're 25 years later, but you can imagine, right? The first 5 years, it's so chaotic. Everybody's out. There's like, it's crazy, right? So you would kill strangers to, you could see somebody killing strangers to keep yourself safe because you just don't trust anybody. And that's the only way to stay safe. So there's this sense that Joel's just has been a guy who's like had this heavy conscience from all this killing. So he's trying to chill from that. And then, so in that line of dialogue, his sister-in-law says, hey man, you were a refugee once too. We brought you in. So we need to be more open to people and be trusting. So you can see that working. So you can see him starting to like, and then Ellie yells at him, you're a terrible person. You start seeing him like really going, well, maybe I should change. And because of that, he's heroic. Now, that character Joel, maybe 5 years before, would let that person get killed and like whatever, because one, um, if that person got themselves in that situation, that right, they're not that smart, survival of the fittest, and two, he doesn't trust anybody. So in this case, you see Joel trusting a random stranger. He saves her. He brings her into this warehouse. I'm sorry, a barn or some kind of thing. Warehouse barn. Dina's there, so he brings her in and he saves Abby, and then Abby. You see, so as the viewer, you are now in a situation where you know something Joel and Dina do not know, and it's lethal. You are now aware of something very dangerous in regards to the heroes. So the stakes are way high for you as a viewer. So I loved that, right? That's, you're engaged in that. You see Abby reach for her gun when she realizes this is Joel, doesn't have it. So the thought is, would she try, she clearly is like, I'm going to kill this guy, right? Or I'm going to, do my thing. She knows this is his gun. He's in control, but he's like totally trusting her. He's like, hey, who are you with? And then she starts to activate her devious plan, which you don't understand. When this starts happening, you're not assuming that she's going to set him up to be murdered that fast. You just assume, as the person watching it, that this is a way to get him there. He's like, he's taken by surprise, and then this is going to take some time. We'll see where this goes. You're like Joel. You don't think he's going to die. I don't think he's going to die, right? Unless you know the game, I guess. So he gets her on the horse, and she's like, "Hey, we got to go." And then now, before this happens, before this happens, they start. There's a little bit of information. You'll recall that they Amy, who's doing doing the CB or whatever for the people. She starts the storm's coming, so she tries to get a hold of Joel and Dina, and she does, but it's hard. She tries to get a hold of Jesse and Ellie, and they hunker down. So Joel and Dina are hunkering down, I guess, in this warehouse thingy where Abby serendipitously shows up. Ellie and Jesse are in some place that's like a pot farm that they kind of know, he's known about, and it's kind of a safe place. So they're going to hunker down. It's too far out to go back to Jackson Hole. So they're cut off because of the storm. So at this point, they have to leave. We're back to Joel and Dina. They put this terrible human being, Abby, on the horse, like, let's rock. And they're trying to get back to Jackson Hole because, like, we got to get back. The zombie horde is popping. And also, the one thing you notice, there was a little CG that was questionable. Most of it's super dope. You'll see that this first horde that was chasing Abby got another horde riled up. So the whole place is full of hordes, and you just didn't realize it. So they start coming at it. So it's like, oh my God, like no one knew they were this surrounded. So you probably got literally 1,000, maybe more. So then they start moving towards Jackson Hole. And I guess the cordyceps things are still in the pipes. So that's the only, so they kind of all move away from Abby and Joel and Dina to go to Jackson Hole. So my only thought is, like, maybe the cordyceps things that were sending them the messages because they're all connected. So they head to Jackson. So this whole horde is heading to Jackson Hole. So this is so in the meantime, you've got Joel on the horse. It's cold. Dina's clearly getting way too cold. She's starting to get. They indicate to you she's on the verge of starting frostbite. And then her hands, because they didn't plan on being out there that long. And then Abby says she takes advantage of their vulnerable state and says, no, we got to go to the resort. My people are there. You can trust us. Well, Joel normally wouldn't trust them. He wouldn't even trust her. But again, because he's trying to turn over a new leaf, you see Joel just which was interesting. He was just like, sure. You never see Joel okay, sure to everything. He's never been that guy until this episode. So the time he changed, I believe that everybody, I think what they're going to probably develop in this next, I guess, couple of episodes is that everyone's going to go, Joel was right. Joel was right. Because they basically turn him into like this soft guy. So now he's really trusting. Is that so? They basically, because, and again, Ellie was being a douchebag, so they're trying to send you the message that they were all starting to soften up to their own demise. And that's how it works in the apocalypse. You can never soften up. And that's what Walking Dead teaches you. Every time they'd get into a situation where, like, oh, we're comfortable, we made it, Alexandria or something like that, they basically lull themselves to sleep and bring in, they make themselves super vulnerable. And what people forget is that in most cases, even in life, when you get to a successful moment and it took you all this fighting and it was brutal, it doesn't change. If you change, you lose it. That's actually a lesson in life. You cannot change. You got to still dance with what brought you there, right? Never change your formula, right? That's how you. So they're changing their formulas, which led them to this moment where somebody who had no business, literally, this Abby character had no business doing what she did to Joel, but because Joel was vulnerable because he was listening to these people, this is my opinion, it allows his death because he's just listening to the wrong people who softened him up. And Joel was like, hey, we can't let anybody in here. But they're like, Joel, quit being a douchebag. They're putting him in therapy. Like, you can see they basically just they killed him before they killed him, if you think about it. Now, I don't know if that's just in me just picking it up from the writing, or if that's kind of the point, is like, and I can see where Ellie's going to go back to being vicious Ellie, right? Like, now, of course, because they were too nice and they trusted, this is what happened. So, so Joel and Dina are heading to this resort with Abby, Satan incarnate, apparently. And then Ellie and Jesse get the word that they can't get a hold of Joel on the wire, the walkies. And then Ellie flips out. She's like, I found my Joel. So they just leave, which is kind of whatever. So Jesse and Ellie were like, hey, let's split up. Let's find them. Okay. So Ellie's a good tracker. You figure that out later on. And she's learned those skills. So they take off. Now, I'll just try to give you this really quick. I've been going on a really long time with this show, and it's been a lot of fun. If you guys are watching, thanks for watching. Again, any comments or anything that you see? Oh, some of you are watching. Thank you. Any comments that you put, I'm gonna. Thanks for the repost, guys. Any comments that you put, I'm gonna. I'll answer you. I'll answer them. But so let's get to Jackson Hole. Like, that battle was super epic. The whole thing was amazing. It's worth watching. The CG was dope. I was like, oh, here we go. It was crazy. They're blowing stuff up. It's hard to explain, but like, you'll just have to watch it. But they had a scene where a guy gets on his binoculars and he looks out and he's like, oh my, like, he was like, Jesus Christ. Like, he didn't even say anything, but the acting was like just a real character acting moment. Guy was dope. He could see like 300, 400 of these cats just running World War Z at them, and they're like, it's on. So it was very like White Walker, like what was that battle? What was that battle where they got beat by Jon Snow was there? Gosh, I forget the name of it, but it's like a really famous battle that they got their asses kicked. And the wildlands got pretty much decimated by the king. Was it? Man, it's been so long. The White King, was that his name? Ice King, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, it was very similar to that. Like, they had a big wall, and then these things came up, and they're like, oh, but they overcome the wall. So they have this really cool idea where they're shooting them down. They drop these fire barrels, blow those things up. It's epic. It was cool, really cool. I was like, this is dope, man. I was in. It was really cool. It's fast moving. So then it seems like that they're kind of winning, and then of course, they change pace. They change their direction. They start to figure out there's a weakness. That makes no sense. But then this what do they call the guy? The big mushroom guy. Like, this big guy comes out. Like, I forget what the name of the guy is. The Blipper, the Big Daddy. I don't know. The Big Daddy that looks like a big mushroom. He comes out. Now that's the only place you lose me on the CG because it looks so fake. But whatever. So this Big Daddy thing comes out of nowhere. There's only one of them. And they follow him, and he's so strong he breaks through. and then that leads you to the inside battle, which is really cool. So they got like blow torches and stuff, and then they had some cool moments. And then so you've got everybody on the top, and so Joel's brothers, Regina Wesley, that's her real name. She's running the show on top with all the snipers, and then Tommy is leading the the wall, and he jumps down and he's like on the ground. So it's pretty dope, very courageous. So the actor that plays Tommy, Gabriel Luna, he's so good. He's like, I'm like, man, he's like fierce, and you're like, he's like very heroic. Then there's that scene. So there's a scene where, so okay, the big mushroom daddy, he's apparently got some kind of brains or something. He's like, and so he's gonna try to go into the phone, get the kids or whatever. And then Gabriel Luna, Tommy, is like, hey man, he gets his attention. And so like it's getting crazy though. It's like chaos. It's almost like like a war. Everybody's fighting all around him. It's like really cool. It's very epic. And then the townspeople are going at it, and everybody's like, let's do it for Tommy. And then so Tommy gets this mushroom monster guys. I'm sorry, I don't know the monster's name. I'm not a video game guy. Gets his attention. He chases him. Tommy has a blowtorch. It's a great moment. And Tom. So the one thing that made no sense, I was like, what? So Tommy was like running. He gets this thing's attention. He's like running through like a part of the town. Now, track with me here. The town is really the town's really small, man. Like, so you pretty much know every part of this town. If you're Tommy, you're running the town. So somehow he gets trapped in a part of town he's never been in before. And he's like, oh, this wall. Oh my God. Then he goes like, oh, how did these boxes get stacked here? And it was like, okay, really? So that was I was like, so there were some moments I was like, serious. I even yelled at the TV. Seriously, dude, you're going to run into a part of the town you don't know? Anyway, so he's like, oh my God. So he has to face off. And then Mushroom Dude is, for some reason, nobody else follows them. There's like 100 of them on Main Street, whatever. So he's blowtorching this thing, and the thing's marching towards him, which is pretty cool because you would think, okay, so like what he's doing with it almost seemed like maybe it's a boss moment, right? So like, and again, it looked like a video game, and then at the top they have Regina Wesley like kind of doing this point of view thing where she's like moving around and shooting people. That was very video game. Then she goes down the stairwell, which is cool. And so she runs down the well, let me go back to Tommy. So he's like blowing the blowtorch, and like the dial is like he's losing his blowtorch juice or whatever. And so that was very video gamey. And then he runs out and he falls down, which was kind of like weird. He was like almost like afraid. He was, I don't know, terrified. And then he's cooking this thing, and the thing keeps going towards him like a Marvel character. Then he's like, and then just boom, dies right at the last moment because he's cooked. And that was a funny moment. Tommy's like, what? It was just very funny. So then Regina Wesley, so these things start storming the town, like the corners, like the storefronts. They start getting to the roof. So then the battle's on the roof. So it's wild, right? These cordyceps dudes really know how to navigate this town pretty easily. Really weird. So they're fighting. Regina Wesley gets down there, and she goes to a place where they got the dogs in the kennel, which was dope. So she releases the hounds, which was really cool. Very epic. It was really well done. That's why I give this episode 4.5 stars. There's so many cool moments in it. And I'll get to the main reason why. Hold on here. I'll get to the main reason why I gave it 4.5 and not 5. And no, it wasn't because they killed Joel, even though that's upsetting to me. And if you didn't catch the beginning of this, I was like literally trying not to cry when I was I feel much better now, but I was really processing this, like seriously processing it. I'm like still processing it. I'm still not good, but anyway, Joel, this just sums up. One word sums it up. I'm very not good. I'm not good with what they did. Now who knows where it goes? But anyway, so she releases the hounds, which is cool, and Tommy's like in the like ready. He's just kind of like. He has like a handgun or something, and then the hounds are flying around him. They're taking out these cordyceps. Super cool moment. They're like on the necks. It was cool, very cool. So they're starting to. You get this sense that they're not losing, but they're getting momentum to win, which is cool. Because I really thought they were gonna. I honestly thought they were gonna kill. Well, they gave you a sense someone's gonna die, And remember last week, I said every time in these shows that there's a wedding or a dance or a prom or something like that, a ceremony, somebody's going to die, right? Like it all goes to hell the next day or during that, that event. Well, somebody did die, but they gave you these indicators that somebody could die, right? So Tommy, you think he's going to die, he doesn't. There's a moment where Gina Wesley's kind of trapped up there. You think she's going to die. That's the feeling you get. She escapes. So they're kind of winning. Okay, so cut to the battle, great battle. Cut to Joel and Dina freezing with Abby, who's freezing, and she finally talks them. So they get up to this point again. Joel is trying to do the right thing for the people. He's trying to be self-sacrificing. He's trying to turn. This is therapy, Joel. Therapy is going to kill you guys. Apparently, therapy is going to kill. It's therapy. So they get to this point where they get up on the hill and Joel can see the battle of Jackson Hole, and it's not going well. From what he's seeing, it's not going well. There's like fire. He can see it from like a mile away. It's crazy, and he freaks out. Tommy and he's freaking out. He thinks Ellie's there. He wants to go back. And Dina's like, we're not going to make it. I'm freezing. Like Dina is looking sick. He's going, well, how are we going to get in there? Like, we're going to go right into the battle. Dina's not able. You clearly know Pedro's amazing. In the acting, you can clearly see him going, okay, that I want to go, but it's not the best move. What are we going to? Then this Abby person, he doesn't know who she is. So he's thinking about her when if he had any clue, he wouldn't have. So he makes a fateful choice to take them to this lodge where the old Joel, would have never gone to a random group of people to trust that they'd be fine. He never would have done that. But for some reason, the new therapy Joel, again, last episode, they've just worked all the tough guy out of him. He makes a really bad choice that only a soft person would make. That's like not a hard, mistrusting guy. So he trusts them. He goes up there. They get into the chalet. Meanwhile, Ellie's still trying to find them. The battle's going on. So Joel, they get in the chalet. And this is where it was it was just really hard to take. And, I got to say, like, if you're a real fan of the show, you're going to cry. Like I cried. Now I'm an emotional guy. Television makes me cry. Movies make me cry. Moments make me cry. Two actors having a moment. I was watching White Lotus, and there was a real amazing moment where these two actors like connected, and the one of the actress in the moment was just like made me cry. I was like, oh man, a tear came. Like she's amazing. But like this really was hard for me. So Joel gets in there and he's like super like, okay, cool. He's like, all right, can you guys shoot? Like he walks into this room with these junior leaguers and he's like, okay, whoa, all right, cool. All right, you guys have your guns. Let's go. We're going to get out there. And Abby, she starts getting herself together. They start trying to warm Dina up. They start being nice. And Joel's like, okay, we got 5 minutes. Let's go. Let's, help me. He thinks that they're cool. He automatically doesn't even think that, which is not like this character. But if they hadn't been if they hadn't been doing what they were doing to him through therapy and Ellie yelling at him and softening him up, I would not have accepted the fact that he walks into this trap, but he did. So I could accept it. So Abby, who is the worst bad guy ever, all of a sudden is just super evil, and she's like, hey. No. I guess my issue is that a character what this character did was like Negan in Walking Dead. If you know Negan's intro, you should know by now. It's been years. But the Negan character was introduced. He came in and he murdered two substantial, one of the main characters and then another kind of substantial side character. He came in and brutally murdered them in front of the group in order to show dominance and prove a point that like, you're all, the point was survival of the fittest. If I can do this to you, you're not fit. That was Negan. Negan was like, if you're strong, you beat me, we're cool. I'm the strongest. So it was kind of his. So in a weird way, Negan had a point for his viciousness, and later on, you realize that it was just something that he thought was the best way to keep himself and his group alive. Right? That's just the law of the jungle. So what he did was super brutal, but his character, like he had been doing it for a while, he just didn't show up and do it. This Abby character, they want you to think that she can go from not killing anybody. Now, they don't necessarily say this is her first murder, but this kind of murder is not something you do like the first time and do it like this. So she's the worst bad guy, and that's why I'm giving it 4.5 stars instead of instead of 5, because she just wasn't. It wasn't the best bad guy appearance for me. I'm being hard, but so um, I'm just even. It's just really hard for me to even talk about it. So she turns around, and then she's like, "Do you know who I am?" Then she just starts. Then she turns into this evil person that just is just not consistent. So now she's evil, but she's just not. She's not. It's not coming out to me. And then so they grab Dina, put a gun to her head, and Joel's like, right away he grabs his gun. He knows he's in a thing. And they're like, who do you think we are? And then they start doing this quiz with him. 20 questions. Made no sense. Like in that moment, you're not doing 20 questions with a guy that's that dangerous. Joel's super dangerous. Keep in mind, Joel's very dangerous. He's as dangerous as they are. And if he had any indicators, he would have killed them before this. But his guard was down. And he was worried about Dina, which was his weakness. And so they got Dina by the neck, and the guy's got a gun. He's like, Now everybody's the junior Fireflies wearing all the Gap clothes are now just the vicious people, which 4.5 because this just didn't work for me. So they got her, and she's like, she's already like fucked up because of the frostbite, and she's like, and then Abby's like, let's put our plan into motion, which made no sense. So they had like a syringe waiting to put Abby out. I'm sorry, put Dina out. Made no sense. So she orders Dina to be injected with something, and then she tells one of the ladies, one of the junior Fireflies, and she's like, wait a second. And she's like, if you don't do it, I'm just going to hit her in the head. So they inject her, and Joel's like, so Dina knows, like, I can't, no. And Joel's like, and then they basically say, Joel, I'm going to, and then I think Abby says to him, if you want her to live, she does this. I'll give you that. And so he's like, go to sleep. He's like, again, Joel being self-sacrificing. So they give her an injection. She's out. Works really fast, right? Again, in that kind of a situation, Dina's a fighter. Joel's a fighter. I guess what was weird for me is that two people like this would never just roll over. You wouldn't. If you're Joel, you're fighting because you're in a situation where this person, clearly she's like, her intention is to murder you. And then when he realizes, oh, this is revenge, it's too late. But there's no way a guy like him wouldn't try to fight out and like, look, if Dina died, like we're dying anyway, there's no way. But for some reason he gives in. And then Abby out of nowhere pulls out a shotgun and shoots Joel in the leg, which I was like, no way, like, no, that when that happened, I realized this is bad. Like, so that shotgun to the knee was like, minute I thought this, okay, now they're gonna amputate his leg. Like, then I thought, okay, so you're thinking these things as you're watching it. And I'm like, okay, so now this character is gonna be on a, like, limping, what? Like, because that was too brutal. Like, you're not, and they don't have a hospital. You're not coming back from that. And then he goes down and he's like, struggling, and he's screaming, not crying, but he's like, it's very painful. And then Abby orders them to put a tourniquet on him, which is very painful for him. And then she bends down and starts doing this monologue that really was not the best acting monologue. And look, she's getting paid the big bucks, so I'm going to critique her. And I hate critiquing actors, but I just didn't like how she delivered it. So she starts quizzing him. Do you remember who my daddy was? And he's like, what? And it was frustrating to me to just listen to that. It was really frustrating because you're like, what? But you don't think he's going to get killed. You think, okay, he's going to get rescued or whatever. We'll figure this out. So then they do a quick little flashback where they show you the actual video of him killing the dad, which happened to be the doctor. Now, Joel walked in and he was so freaked out that he did kill the doctor unarmed. So this revenge that he was getting was because he did kill an unarmed guy that he could have let live. Sure. I mean, whatever. But there was an indicator that, that was like unnecessary. But he was like, he went in just like he was going hard. So she keys him in that this is my dad. And you could see Pedro Pascal as the actor, like reflecting, okay, yeah, that I did do that. Like you could see it like, okay, oh, wow. So you could see him kind of understanding why he was in this predicament. But it's a lot going on for everybody. You, him, we're all freaking out here. So she gets down, bends down, and she's doing this little, I've been dreaming about this moment. The writing was bad and the delivery was even worse. So she started off, like when she shot him, you're like, oh my God, you're like, you're in it. Then she bends down and starts quizzing him and you're like, this is what? Then she starts doing this monologue, and then you're like, that's a little much. Okay. And it lost me. And I was like, can you really just shut up? Really? And it really, that's what I said to the TV. It was like, it took me out of it because I'm like, this is a very serious moment. And then her acting just didn't, but it could have been the editing, right? Maybe she had some great takes and they took them out. So just whatever. So she says this monologue, and then it was interesting. So it was interesting. So Joel's like sitting there, like, he's like not fighting back. Now, to me, she was so close to him. He could have hurt her. He could have, but then, he dies. I mean, obviously he's not going to survive, but he could have, I thought he was going to he could have grabbed her and started choking her. It didn't make any sense that she'd get that close and not be that worried about it. And he would, but again, he was shot in the leg. So there's this sense of like, okay, now the truth is, well, I'll say this. We get used to, in movies and TV, we get used to people getting shot in the arm and like, and then they shake it off, right? Shot in the leg, we're fine. They shake it off, right? Sword fighting, they get cut in the stomach, shake it off, fight. That's not real life. You get shot in the arm, you're not moving. You're dropping down, you're holding your arm. If it hits a nerve, you're completely paralyzed. If the bullet hits a serious artery, you're bleeding out, just even in the arm, right? Especially if you get, like the old, I get shot in the chest here, but I'm fine, super, tough guy thing. That's not real life. So we're going to take the liberty and say, okay, her shotgun blasting him in the leg and the knee, shredding his knee. Now, they didn't show a mangled leg, but they did show like a knee that was bloody-ish, shredded. So you get the picture. So that would be pretty incapacitating. So we can go with that he's like, he doesn't have the strength. And they tourniqueted his leg, which is super painful. Like, so they're, but they didn't have him like restrained. They just was like, he's on the ground. She starts talking shit to him. And then it moves on to like, she's like, this is it for you. And as the audience, you're like, what? And so she looks over and sees like somehow golf clubs are like sitting there. And you're like, you got to be kidding me. And she gets up and walks, and she's still monologuing, and she walks over to the golf clubs. And Joel says what we're all thinking. Can you just shut the fuck up and get on with it? Which was super gangster. That's what I would have done. Honestly, I know. I say that. But I would have been, can you just shut up and do what you're going to do? Don't monologue. Like, so his message was, you're evil. What you say doesn't matter. you're a piece of garbage, so just do it. I don't you're not worth it to me, and I don't need your voice in my ears. Stop talking. I loved that moment. That's when Joel came back. That's when he's like, just do it. Because he realized, okay, again, law of the jungle. So I loved how they did that. I mean, they did him wrong. The whole thing was stupid. Him being killed by a teenager, honestly, or a 20-year-old, whatever. I just didn't, it just wasn't, it wasn't formidable. Like, we'll get to that in a second, but it just wasn't the coolest ending. It just, for a guy like that, for that character. That's why I was really upset. So she walks over to the golf clubs. She grabs an 8 or something. I was like trying to figure out, in the moment, I'm like, what? Like, they do focus on the golf, and that's why I'm wearing a golf. That is why spoiler alert, that's why I put on a golf hat, because essentially she killed him with a golf club. Not essentially, she actually did. So she gets a golf club out, walks over, and starts hacking his leg. And it's like, and you can see all these Firefly guys. They're kind of like, what? Oh my God. And then the boyfriend's like, oh my God, we should, but they're letting her just do it, which doesn't make any sense to me that this person would have that kind of power over people. But, people do. Like, there are cult members that are, most cult leaders, this is kind of a little death cult, essentially, because they were organized and they were looking for Joel for 5 years to kill him. So, she's like, I'm dreaming of this day. She's obsessed with murder, but that doesn't make it easy to do, just if you're obsessed with it. But anyway, so the character just made it seem too easy that she was able, and then her choice of weapon, and she knew exactly how to kill him. Unless they give us this background that she's some fucking psycho, it just seemed too psychotic for somebody that had never killed before to just go to that level, but whatever. So, and she just didn't seem like a killer, but she is now. So she gets the golf, she starts hacking away, and everybody's like, and she like starts hacking at his leg. Now, I thought she was gonna dismember his leg, right? And I'm like, no, oh my God. And when that started happening, I started getting really like, no, man, like it was way too much. It was like, well, he's not walking again. So you knew Joel's character, what you knew going into this, he's not coming out in one piece. And you're like thinking, oh my God, how are they going to get through this, right? And she keeps doing it. So cut to Ellie. She's tracking. She finds the place, goes in, sneaks in. She starts hearing the noise, and then they go back, and by now, there's some time has passed, and she has beat him to a pulp, and then she's just punching him, and she breaks she had been beating him with a golf club all over, and he's just a mess. He's a bloody mess. And at this point, he's been taking so many blows to the head. His head is swollen. And in fact, his eye is swollen shut. He's purple. He's black and blue. Real, real terrible. And in fact, after the end of the episode, they did the behind the scenes. The makeup guy was talking about how they had to make it seem like his brain was swollen. Like this beating he was taking was a murder. Like she was intending to murder him. But you're not sure. You're kind of like, okay, is she just going to really mess him up? And then we're going to cut to a scene of him like being in the basement. Or, are they going to stretch this out over episodes? But no. So she continues to beat him. So by the time Ellie gets in there, he's pretty much almost dead, right? But he can like look, his eyes moving, and he's like moving a finger. And so Ellie, you're just like, you think Ellie's going to save him, man. So Abby's back is to the door. Ellie opens the door. She hears all the chaos. She sees, oh my God, Joel's getting beat down by this little chick. She rushes in. Now, I was mentioning this earlier. Somehow somebody's back behind the door, takes her down. Oh no, and puts her on the ground. She's now captured too. Her face is on the ground. It's very Walking Dead, like what they did with gosh, I forget the name of the Stephen Young who he played. You're thinking of it right now. I forget I forget the name of the character. So yeah, Maggie's husband. I can't believe I can't remember. He's just a major character. Anyway, he's like it's like him getting beat by Negan. This is killing me. Um, let's see. Walking Dead. Okay, he played Glenn. Darn it! You guys are just saying it's Glenn. I know you're thinking what's wrong. It's Glenn. He played Glenn. Okay, so it's very similar to Glenn, where he's like trying to say I love you, and you could almost. This is where Pedro's so good. You could feel what he was saying to Ellie. So Ellie's on the ground. She's crying. She's seeing he's dying. She's like, just don't kill him. She's like begging for his life, which made you cry. Like that was it. That was I lost it because I'm begging for his life too. I'm like, don't kill him, please. And so but again, Abby, she's just the worst bad guy. She just could like this as an actress. I just didn't see her with the skill set to really own this. Like she just didn't seem that lethal, even though she was doing a lethal thing. She just wasn't giving me that lethality. It's different, right? Versus like doing it versus being it. So she's just like, screw you, I'm gonna kill him. And then, or maybe it's just the way they did it. I don't know. Maybe the editing. But still, it's kind of taking me out, but I'm crying a minute. So you have this scene where they're parallel on the ground and they're looking at each other like 20 feet, 15 feet. She's crying. She's begging for his life, not hers. You could see him looking at her and moving a finger, and you could feel the actor. You could feel what he was saying. You could feel that he was saying, "I love you." You could feel that. Like it was just like I'm starting to get like emotional. You could feel it, and that's why he's so good. Even through the makeup, like you could feel that moment. Like sometimes in acting, the actor doesn't even have to say it. You feel it. And so you see the golf club had been broken in half. There's a really nasty looking piece there, really dangerous looking. And then Abby grabs it and she's like, "Oh, you want me to keep him alive? Watch this." And she sticks it in his neck. It's just it was hard, and murders him. Now, by then he's already pretty much murdered before that, but that's it. And so it was not the how I wanted to end my night. It was not what I was expecting. And this is a long show we're doing here because I really needed to work it out in my system. So they kill him, and I mean I'm still disgusted. I really am disgusted. I just I'm still processing it. I understand they're copying the video game, and maybe that's exactly how it goes down. But I just hated it, and so I just hated it. Like I'm really just having a hard time with it. And so he's dead, and then they kick her a little bit, and they're nasty to her, and then they gather their things and they leave them there, and then Ellie is they knocked the wind out of her. They roughed her up a little bit, so she's devastated because she's watched him be murdered, which is almost worse than like, well, terrible. It was worse than a cordyceps getting him and him going out honorably. He was killed by some terrible, young girl with like some just like this vicious, monstrous girl. And so it was just like what I was going to say earlier about this is one of the things that really disturbed me about the death. It was like not an honorable death. One, it was a torture death. Two, for a character like that, did not deserve a torture death. He had his flaws, but he was a really heroic character, and he was trying to be a dad to her. Like, the guy was the heartbeat of that Jackson Hole, and Pedro Pascal is a really great actor. So I just didn't like, if he had been killed by like a more formidable adversary, right? But not a girl that has a vendetta over her dead daddy. That just now maybe that just is makes it more like senseless, and maybe that's the point. It just didn't have a purpose for me, but it was very Christ-like in a lot of ways. The you know killing him with like almost like a like nailing him. He was beat viciously, like Christ was. Um, he sacrificed himself for Dina, essentially, um, and also sacrificed himself for Abby because he saved her. So it was very, So maybe his death will have some sort of meaning for the whole show. But I'm not good. I'm very disgusted by it. I totally hated it. Like I'm just mad. Um, Now I have to get back. I have to take something away from. Well, let me reframe it. One of the takeaways is I thought it was well written in a lot of ways. I really thought it. I thought the whole episode was well written, and there's some little nuances in there, some things that made sense. um, I thought it was well directed. I dug it. I thought everybody brought their A game because I you could sense that everybody was like, this episode's huge, right? It's like a game changer. So everybody brought, so it's definitely now. I have a feeling we're going to go back to next week, and there's going to be more like people passed away in the battle we didn't realize. There's now everyone's going to have to process, Joel being dead, and so Ellie's crying, and obviously she's just like devastated, and she's just like holding him. She crawls over to his dead body. She's holding him. They do this crane shot, which is really artistic, reminding me of 300 a little bit at the very end. And then Jesse somehow shows up. They do an outside shot, seeing him right up from far away, and then they cut to a scene of Ellie devastated on the horse with Jesse, and then Dina just kind of out of it on her horse. And then they're dragging Joel's body. He's wrapped up, in the snow, clearly indicating he's dead. And then there's blood on it, where the hole in his neck is or whatever. So clearly he's gone. There's no resurrecting, unless he's a cordyceps. But he's a wrap. And then it ends. That's how it ends. They're devastated. They go, and then it cuts. There's no music, which is a device that a lot of shows use when they kill off a main character. So, wow, this is one of the longest podcasts I've ever done, but, it's important. So, a couple of final thoughts. I hated it, but it was well done, extremely well done. I don't like killing a character like that in season 2. House of Cards did that, but it wasn't a major character. House of Cards did that where they came back in the second episode of the second season. They whacked somebody who was very significant, and they actually used that death as a vehicle for the next 2 seasons, maybe 3. Which was interesting. But that was not a major plot character, but not a major star to the show. Not to disrespect the actress. I mean, she's incredible. But but Joel and Ellie, they're the show. So I'm just not sure where we're going. I mean, I guess they're gonna make Ellie into some badass warrior now for revenge. That's not interesting to me. So I'm not sure what, everyone in a lot of grief. Now Game of Thrones did that with they did do that. Game of Thrones did that in season 1 with the Stark gentlemen, and that throughout the entire, that was pivotal throughout the entire because that murder by Joffrey was like super. It just like set off a lot of things. So, but still, now Sean Bean, who played that character, Stark, was a main character to the show, but it's just different. It's just different. It just seems like this murder to me it like changes the entire show completely. Like it's just a different show to me now. But we'll have to see. So I hated it, but it was so well done. I have to give it 4.5 stars. The only reason it got only 4 stars is because I just didn't think Abby, the bad guy, was worthy of being a bad guy. And I didn't think the monologue worked in the end. And I just didn't think that transition from, I couldn't see that. I just couldn't see it in the acting. And it took me out. So it was a little frustrating to me. Plus, I just didn't like how that happened to Joel. So, okay. So thanks for following me, guys. I'm going to wrap up. I am Jason J. Daniel. And you can follow me on X, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Please subscribe, share this video if you like it. If you're jumping around for major points, I know it's a long video. But if you follow me on YouTube or Rumble, I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe, I mean. I do politics. I do human behavior stuff. I interview a lot of interesting people. And I also I'm an actor, so I do TV and movies and scripts and stuff like that. So that's why I break this down. My breakdowns are kind of long because I kind of dig right into the episodes and dig into what's going on. But I will be back next week when after another episode airs. So check me out and check out check out last week's episode. It's on all of my channels, and also check out next week. So I'll be back at the same time talking about episode 3. Let's hope I can feel better. I was just so excited. I'm like, this episode's so great. I feel awesome talking about it. It's going to be exciting to talk about tonight. And then they kill Joel. Was not happy about that. So anyway, guys, take care. Thanks for watching and have a great evening and stay safe. And we'll see you next time.